the situation in Syria. But in order to do that, we need a solid moral leadership on part of the Syrian opposition. And despite the fact that you have the SNC right now, and despite the fact that Rضوان and many other friends are in it, people that I sincerely admire, the SNC is a haphazard group. They haven't agreed even on the basics. They supporting civilians or protecting the international, providing international protection for the unarmed protesters and so on. What does that mean? The protesters have explained it. No-fly zone, support for the safe havens, support the Free Syrian Army, but none of these things are agreed upon within the SNC. You have Burhan Ghalioun completely rejecting that concept, and he is the leader. And you have other people on the ground in the SNC completely rejecting that idea. So the problem is when the protesters went into the street, they said, we support the SNC, but we also want this. The two, support our demands, we support you. Unfortunately, a lot of people in the SNC seems to have taken that first part and forgot about the second part, and this could be disastrous down the road. So unless the protesters and their political representatives are on the same page, we are really going to have a problem and a crisis, and this revolution is and its leadership is going to continue to fracture. The more this fracturing continues, the more dangerous the situation becomes, and the more sort of unwanted elements will be able, like the Salafists and jihadis who've been kept at bay at this stage, can actually make their introduction. The Assad themselves probably would encourage them to come, because they pull the levers of power with a lot of these Salafist groups because it serves their own purpose. The Assads want to create an internal strife. They can manage it. They've done it before. They believe they can win if they have that kind of a situation. So we really need to be very careful. And this is why when you call something the Syrian National Council, I'm actually, look, it's nice to speak about not wanting to have sectarian quotas and whatever, but for crying out loud, the realities on the ground are about sectarianism right now. I don't want to dedicate and concentrate the sectarian systems down the road, but right now we're talking about a very critical period when you don't show a lot or a sincere representation for Christians, for Alawite, for Druze, for Kurds, where they can feel that they are adequately represented, then you are removing them from the nation. You're calling a Syrian national group and you're not sending the right messages. Don't take my word for it. A lot of people, activists in Syria who are Christians, who are taking part in the protest movement, now they're not taking part in it anymore. Over the last 2 months, they're witnessing and they're looking at the kind of leadership that's being posited by the Syrian opposition, and they're not seeing themselves. They need to feel that they are represented. They need to have a message. They need to be addressed by a group of people that they can actually see themselves in, see their reflection in, and they can't see that at this stage. So I am not against the SNC because I want to be against the SNC, and I am because there are flaws, and if these flaws are corrected, this is a good project. But if these flaws are not corrected, this is a disastrous development, and that we're talking about as far as the Syrian revolution is concerned. So we really need to realize that right now we're entering into a period that's a transitional period, not in the sense of political transition in Syria, but transitional for the opposition and for the revolution. How we are going to revise our tactics over the next 12 months in order to keep this revolution alive, to prevent the country from descending into civil war, to be able to continue to support the protest community and make the Assads realize this is not going away, to be able to reach out to the people and reach agreement on the issue of supporting the Syrian Free Army, of providing a political umbrella for it, of providing, sending messages to minority communities that regardless of where you are right now in the equation, even if you are with the Assads, the reality is we still want you to be with us. And your seats are reserved for you in the National Council. And we understand the legitimacy of many of your concerns, and we want you to be on our side. We need to send that kind of a message, and that cannot be just said in words. You need to create a structure. You need to create a media-savvy campaign. You need to create documents. You need to create a sense of political movement on the ground, to counteract that propaganda of the regime and be able to sort of de-radicalize the supporters of the Assads. That requires a lot of savviness, that requires a lot of preparation, and no one is talking about this. I mean, this is not even being debated. Everybody, all the debate that takes place between opposition groups is about whose name is in, whose name is out. You know, do you have a Christian for show or not? Do you have, you know, can you brandish a liberal figure, you know, to say, hey, we're liberals. You know, we're not all Islamists or whatever. This is what they give a damn about, and I think this is really not what this revolution was all about at this stage. And I know, by the way, Rضوان agrees with a lot of what I'm saying. He's in a difficult position because he has to defend the SNC. He believes in working from inside. I believe in working from outside. But we are on the same pages on some of these issues, and this is why I still have hope for the SNC. But at this stage, I cannot endorse something along these lines until there is a clarity of vision, until there is some real bridges built with the protesters on the ground, until we see a real sense of pragmatism on the leadership of the SNC and of the various opposition groups, and we can get more and more of them to be involved in these kind of efforts. Because at this stage, in my opinion, the opposition has proven to be what they have always proven to be, part of the problem, not part of the solution. This is not something new, you know, for me to say. I've been saying that for a while. Indeed, this is not an opposition-led revolution. This is a very indigenous movement, and we have not, as opposition figures, risen to the challenge of being good leaders of this movement. I'm ashamed to say that in one day in an interview I said that the reason we are doing all these connections and the reason I'm acting outside the country now and I'm doing this is because I have a moral obligation. I don't want a second Hamas to happen because I believe in my heart of heart that the Syrian people are going to take to the streets and they are going to demonstrate against the regime and they're going to protest. And I want to be there and I want to be able to make sure that I and my colleague will make sure that a second Hamas cannot happen. Well, guess what? There is not blood on my face, not just egg on my face now, because the second Hamas happened, and the second Hamas is happening in Homs, and the second Hamas is happened in Rastan, and it's happening in communities all over Syria. We have failed our people, and so far there is not a single vision out there that has been proposed by anyone, basically, that makes me believe that, okay, this is something promising, this is something we can hang on to. We have to be able to be more self-critical at this stage if we need to overcome the challenges of this very important transitional period we're going through for the revolution. Transition from a place during which we are going to be away from people's minds and not a priority for any of the major players in the international community. If you don't survive that period, I think we can say that you are going to, you know, the Assad's regime is going to be there with us for quite many years to come.
Just I have to say a few words. I like this because it's been debate among the opposition itself. It's two things. I never say something I don't believe it. But when we work actually as an opposition group, it's not as an organizational group, it's different than as different or individual voices. Because the Syrian society itself is not united also in the options. This is why it's quite difficult. When we see, we don't have actually critical mass demonstration in Aleppo. This is why if you start talking about military intervention, the people of Aleppo, which 5 to 6 million, will not happy to hear about that, because they don't know the consequences about that. And when you say no-fly zone or safe zone, this is a kind of military intervention. This is one issue, and this is why when we debate among the Syrian National Council, we have different voices. But at the end, we have to accommodate everyone and to hear the debate. The debate among the people on the ground in Syria, because 60% of the people from SNC are from inside Syria and 40% from outside. And those people who are inside, they have they have then the choice and the decision. The second issue, if the SNC issue today or just say tomorrow morning, we have to have no-fly zone. We will not have NATO bombing Damascus or Aleppo the day after. the international community is not prepared